MOU 60-day deadline irrelevant is what the Iranian diplomat is saying, and all along those lines. So the 60-day deadline for an Iran peace deal is expiring. And Ukrainian strike killed 6 in Russia, officials say. And Ukrainian drone attack is what that was, as Ukraine launched 600 drones toward Moscow in a major barrage, the mayor says. Andy Barnum, message person posing as Donald Trump's chief of staff. So Burnham exchanged messages with an impersonator of a top Trump aide. UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham exchanged messages with somebody that he thought was a person connected to the White House. British leader reportedly exchanged messages with an imposter of this official. And how satellite advances are changing the game for Ukraine. UK-made drones strike targets inside Russia. Ukraine reported to have begun using British drones for long-range strikes on Russia. And inside the nighttime operations of the Ukraine drone regiment pummeling into Moscow. Ukraine takes aim at Russia's economy and morale by attacking online retailer. So Kyiv keeps attacking the Russian retail giant Wildberries. And definitely Putin is facing a home front crisis over $1 billion humiliation. And Arab allies join Trump in calling for Israel to drop opposition to the U.S.-backed Gaza peace plan. And Netanyahu is walking a political tightrope on Trump's Gaza disarmament deal. Trump's unorthodox diplomacy still won't bring peace to Gaza. And Xi says China needs indomitable fighting spirit and praises the Tiananmen crackdown. Xi leads events marking late leader Jiang Zemin's 100th birth anniversary, and Communist Party invokes Jiang's legacy in call in rally to rally around Xi's leadership. So Xi urges advancing socialism with Chinese characteristics on birth centenary of the late leader Jiang Zemin. So definitely there is definitely stuff going on there as they were honoring their late leader and all along those lines. So definitely lots going on in that space. They were on a plane when Trump secretly left. And John Oliver brutally mocks Trump for sacrificing staff in an airplane swap incident. So that's definitely something that folks are talking about as well. The BBC visits smoldering Kyiv market after Russian strikes. Russia hits steel plant in new strikes in Ukraine. Kyiv attacks Moscow region. So there's definitely a lot of attacks going back and forth in that particular conflict. And 5 years after the Taliban won, Afghanistan is still losing. Patriotic music and flags mark Taliban rule anniversary in Kabul. I'll keep believing in my right to a future is what an Afghan woman was saying on BBC as she shared her stories of life under the Taliban rule. And Ebola outbreaks becomes the deadliest in the Democratic Republic of Congo's history. Ebola outbreak becomes the deadliest in that country's history as it killed thousands. A perfect storm is making the virus hard to stop is what is being reported as well. And rescuers are searching for survivors after Colombia's earthquake. Definitely search teams comb rubble in Colombia nearly a week after the quake as aid efforts expand. And Belgium is battling the largest wildfire in its history. 2 dead and hundreds evacuated as wildfires break out near Athens, as those wildfires are also hitting Greece as well. So firefighters are battling wildfires in Belgium and Greece as 2 down in Allen near Athens. So Belgian wildfires are approaching Germany despite rain as Greece probes the deadly blaze. And it looks like Israel has escalated attacks in the southern Lebanon despite the ceasefire. And some folks are asking why Israel has done that and all along those lines. And in Spain, Ceuta, hundreds of migrants stage protests and demand asylum. So that's something going on is the second Ceuta border push falls flat with security forces getting ready to get to just little things in the U.S. And then I'll bring up Sasha Starr and also Sharif. I see that both of them are here and all along those lines. But at least 7 people died following in Indiana storms and flooding. So flooding ongoing in parts of Indiana as others turned to clean up. Mother Nature always wins is what WTHR is reporting as floodwaters cut through Hazeldale Parkway Bridge. Crews asking for space as they work to assess the damage in that area. And Trump threatens to bomb Oman with Iran war stuck in stalemate. So now Trump is threatening to bomb Oman if he gets in the way of an Iran deal as Kushner meets Netanyahu. And Supreme Court turns away Trump's latest bid to block E. Jean Carroll Award. So it looks like the Supreme Court has denied a renewed Trump appeal to the E. Jean Carroll case. And the tropical storm Lala is lashing Hawaii. High winds and heavy rains, power out for 178,000 customers in that area. Company says prepare for extended outages. And is Congress finally ready to take its ethic woes seriously? Is what some people are asking. And we'll see how that plays out as well. And definitely there's a lot going on in the world in that particular case. So, like I said, get ready to bring in my regular panelists and everything like that. Is Maria Fernandez Saldana faces a trial for the murder of Jared Brightligan. So, first of three trials in this case begin Monday with an opening. A tire in the road, then a father shot dead, and now a man accused of planning this crime. So, murder for hire trial is what they are saying this particular case will be. And murder drops to a historic lows in Baltimore. That's what they're saying, and all in that space. So we'll see what happens in that kind of way. And last but not least, two things. Women fights off bear with spray after being attacked and injured on a popular trail in Hawaii. And the planet's strongest heat dome will lower over the U.S. So it looks like there's going to be some heat issues around the U.S. as well. It's definitely been hot here in North Carolina and all in that space. So get ready to bring in my folks, see what they've got to say. And all along those lines, I had Sharif here, but he might have disappeared. But how are y'all gentlemen doing? Well, what's are you seeing in the news stories and all along those
We'll
lines?
just start with my regular. This is day 107 of national average gas being over $4 a gallon. That means we're starting week 16 under second term Trump of $4 gas. 78 days until the midterms. So we may have $4 gas all the way up until the election.
I would say that it's more likely to move higher because the strategic gas quantities of United States are at historically low stage, and there could be a shortage, really shortage of gasoline in the United States. It's already shortage in the rest of the world, but it could touch United States just as well. And then $5, $6 in some areas of United States will be more likely in next.
So we have 300 million gallons in these underground caves full of gas that are, and you're not in. As Sasha said, they haven't been this drained since 1983, and the caves are not in good shape. And they're made out of salt. And to keep the caves from collapsing, when you pull out gas, you have to fill the space you pulled out with water. Water eats salt. So we really don't know how much more oil, gas you can pull out of there before, I don't know, crazy crap happens.
Well, as Sasha was just saying, maybe gas is going to get to $5 and everything like that. But it looks like even some of the Republicans are souring on Trump because they said that 23% of Republicans say they're worse off since the second Trump term began. And this was reported in The Hill and all along those lines. So what's our take? Is he finally getting some drop in his popularity even among
not in time? I mean, kind of, but not so. His approval among Republicans is, I think, at an all-time low, but it's still 79%, down from 91%. Strong approval has dropped from 68% to 48% among Republicans, but he still has, strong approval there. Does this? He probably will lose the House. Republicans will probably, but is the discontent enough to lose him in the Senate?
Well, and the other conversation that's going on, and I know you and Jacoby and others have been talking about it, is this notion of how strong is the left in the Democratic Party and how strong should it be? Because even CNN is asking the question of, is the middle of the country back in the center of American politics? So I guess there's trying to be some more people that want the parties to go more centrist than either left or
So,
right. So what do y'all think?
are people going to be pissed off enough? So, among the young people, 18 to 30, his approval went to from plus 10 at the time of the election. Now it's minus 30. But young people have the lowest attendance at voting. So, are they going to be motivated to show up?
Yeah.
Rick, there's some much more worrisome situation with interest rates and a dollar than gas, because gas is basically something what Americans can see easily at the pump, so they don't have to think, okay, whoa, my God, it's $4.25. Oh my God, what's happening? Now, the dollar and interest rates, people are not watching every day, especially working people. They have many other things to worry about. However, the 30 years interest rates now at the level of last financial crisis of 2007, 2008. That's where it is now. So the buyers of 30 years bond demand a special interest rates to reflect the risk what they are taking by holding U.S. Treasury bills. So this is extremely worrisome because that directly affects mortgages, all long-term financing, and so on. And there is nothing Trump or any other Republicans or whoever, they cannot do it because it's international contracts, and you cannot affect them anyway. So this is absolutely horrible situation. And US dollar, as a result, is going lower and lower, which may benefit some sectors of economy, but mostly, and especially, but most of the Americans, it will reflect extremely negatively because all the goods from the overseas will be immediately more expensive. Your travel will be more expensive, everything. So you cannot in any way and shape or form benefit from it. It's a horrible development.
So where Americans see this, if they try to shop for a home, they're going to see the mortgage rates are going to shut them out from a lot of places they could have maybe afforded a couple of years ago. If you're just a family where you're working for $12 an hour trying to get by, you're maybe not going to see some. You're maybe not buying that much foreign goods.
Right.
So, but the housing market is bad right now because mortgage rates are high.
Yeah, but even prices for goods from, let's see, from Latin America, for example, like fruits, vegetables, they could go higher in price as well. So families will notice something.
Yeah,
Trump is getting permission to start a bank.
His own bank?
His own bank, the Trump Family Bank, which is going to turbocharge corruption. It's not a bank where you can deposit money. It's some kind of clearinghouse bank for big financial accounts. I don't understand the whole thing, but I understand that you don't want a president with his own bank. Also, he got some regulatory agency to get rid of the rule that you have to tell people who owns your company.
Yeah, we did agree that.
So you put those two things together, Trump's own bank, plus you don't have to say who owns it, leads to, makes it much easier to do corruption.
Well, a whole lot easier to do corruption and everything like that. But he's also blaming vandals again, this time for the damage to the lawn, which hosted his July 4th rally. So he's blaming vandals for damaged grass in the spot where he held his July 4th festivities. And as one who's done events, there would be, of course, damage if you're going to hold an event in a large public space and everything like that.
So, I mean, I did see a couple months ago, there was damage. Somebody burned, if you hit grass with too much fertilizer, you could burn it out. Somebody burned 8647 into some patch of lawn. I don't know if we're still talking about that same thing,
I think
because
that's
he's
the same
torn
thing.
up so much grass to do various construction projects. I don't know what he's talking about at this point.
Yeah, nobody knows what he's talking about because he keeps blaming everybody for all these different things that are going on every time like that. So I did see that he was doing that particular, and apparently there's going to be Pearl District is bracing for a Centennial Mill demolition. I think this is in Portland. So the Portland Navy said they learned about the safety hazard through the word of mouth. So sometimes there are these things going on, and you don't even know about them till they started getting word of mouth, not even newspaper coverage. And it looks like they're saying that Luigi Manganio's Give Send Go Fund doesn't violate the platform policy despite the guilty plea. So he pleaded
Oh,
guilty. to
Sasha should talk about. So the Ukrainians have blown up
Oh, they're blown
almost all of Russia's Amazon.
Right.
So Amazon Russia has a service, the buy via computer called Wildberries,
Right.
and Ukraine has caused all these billion-dollar fires with drones. They've blown up 7 out of 10 of their major factories, including the 2 biggest ones.
But don't forget that this, unlike Amazon, Wildberries is selling or was selling a lot of ammunition for military and a lot of uniforms for military and so on. So it would be nice to get rid of such a supplier for Ukrainians.
Also, if you're going to blow up a warehouse, it's probably easier to blow up a warehouse full of ammunition.
Absolutely. That's why they're burning so well. It's fantastic. This ammunition burns. That's a really great thing. And now, speaking about Russia, Ukraine, so everybody's asking, so when is it going to be a peace and so on? The peace today, let's face it, it's much farther from reality than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. It's much farther today because, like before, so everybody was talking about that Ukrainians, well, they have to yield some territories, they have to do this and that. Well, have you heard lately how much territory Ukraine has to yield to Russia? I haven't heard it at all in the last several months that they have to yield anything or so on. So where America fits into this peace process, it's absolutely unclear to me. I don't understand what America has to do or say in this Ukrainian-Russian fight. I really don't.
Yeah.
So what the Republicans have been saying is, Trump has been saying, gas is $4. I'm not apologizing. Vance is saying only that despair is a sin. So the Republicans have been saying, yeah, things are expensive, suck it up. Trump said they should be on the USS Abraham Lincoln even longer. They're pretty not apologetic about some of the situations in the U.S.
They're not apologetic.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Totally incredible. Dr. Sharif, you joined us. What's going on there in Bangladesh? What's shaking in that part of the world? I do know that there was definitely some weather-related things in Indonesia. So what's going on in your particular part of the world? Your volume is...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Right now, Bangladesh, we have a massive challenge with energy. How I see, we have a problem with the gas and energy and so on. And Bangladesh minister declared it will take another 2 years to solve this problem. So it's look like we may lose the economic conditions. Many people will go for like they will lose their jobs and the industry may shut down. And this is because of this Iran and the Middle East crisis and so on. Another good point, maybe Bangladesh governments take some green energy strategy, especially solar and this kind of strategy, which may be helpful for our country. and which can help us to create some opportunities. But definitely, it's very critical component, a critical situation. So hopefully, this Iran and this US war and these Hormuz issues will solve soon. That is the challenging things right now we are facing.
Yeah, definitely hope they solve those things. By the way, Rick, it looks like Trump's vaccine order is going into place because he just signed an executive order on childhood vaccines, and some people are saying that it's counterproductive and wrong on so many
Well,
levels.
it is. There's the most famous vaccine right now, besides COVID, is the MMR vaccine, mumps, measles, rubella. You get it all at once in 2 doses. One, and you get a shot. Well, the baby gets a shot, then the baby shows up 3 months later, gets the second shot. It's one of the most effective sets of vaccines. Like the what everybody wants from a vaccine is you get your shots, you're like 98% protected from, and other viruses they mutate more, so they're harder to vaccinate against, like COVID and the flu. You don't know what kind of flu you're going to get, so you don't get as complete protection as you do with MMR. Really great vaccine. They're throwing it out. So now you have to get 3 sets of vaccines: one for mumps, one for measles, one for rubella. There's no reduced risk because the MMR vaccine has very little low risk in the first place. So it's just garbage and chaos. What's going on there?
Sounds like garbage and chaos.
And also, all these lunatic parents are going to be empowered to not vaccinate their kids, which is going to lower the percent of kids who are vaccinated in every classroom from 95% to, say, 85%, at which point you lose herd immunity.
Right. What's going to be, this is a different topic, what's going to be the impact of a state changing in terms of the Democratic primaries? Because it looks like South Carolina, well, just down from me in North Carolina, was going to be the one that holds the first 2028 Democratic primary as opposed to...
Okay, so states want to go first so that they're taken seriously. Like California, a very blue state, goes fair, it's actually great for California. We don't go first at all in any of these primaries, and we're safely Democratic, so that saves us from being hit with all these political ads. Because if you have no chance of winning in California, why spend millions of bucks? So while some states that are jockeying to be first and are up for grabs, a lot politicians, candidates pay a lot of attention to them. They show up, they campaign there. Much less so California. All this jockeying to be first in the primaries is just so they're not ignored by candidates.
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to get to a story that's non-heavy news related, but it is in your field, and I just found it fascinating, so I want to hear your opinion of it. But I was reading a Substack because I started subscribing to some of those, and the gentleman was talking about movie credits, and I did not realize that in the early part of movies, probably did realize that there were hardly any credits and they were very short, but now the credits are averaging almost 5 minutes long, in some cases 7 minutes long if it's big time blockbusters, because you have to give all those people that make the movies credit, particularly if they are kind of like high animation and high AI and stuff like that. So I just wanted your take on this surge in the credits, because apparently
are we talking opening credits or ending credits?
Ending credits.
Ending credits, yeah, they will run 7 because a superhero movie requires 10,000 people to work on it in labs all around the world. Like if a superhero movie has like 300 special effects shots, like one house doesn't do that. 30, 50 houses, effect houses, it's farmed out to and yeah, you have 10,000 employees, like people who work, and you got to show all of them. And so, yeah, the credits are really super duper long. In the very old days, the credits ran before the movie in the
Right.
1940s. You'd see everybody who worked on the movie, you'd see their names before the movie even started. We're way too impatient for that.
Oh, yeah. Much too impatient for that. So everything along those lines. What did y'all take? Because I think there was a shooting at a school recently today. There has been a officer, off-duty Philadelphia police officer killed in a shooting, and there's been a couple of other shootings. So of course that's going to get the gun control people up in arms and everything like that. So what is y'all's take on some of these increases in shootings? Some people are thinking that it's because of the hot weather and people losing their temper and everything like that. Because
the reason we have shootings is we have roughly 2 guns for every adult American. 250 million adult Americans, like 490 million, 500 million guns. So when guns are all over the place, well, they're not exactly all over the place. Most guns, most people know where their gun. But anyway, you're going to have shit like this happen on a nearly daily basis.
oh yeah, you definitely gonna have that stuff happening on a regular basis. Any speculation as to who's going to take over Carolyn Levitt's job, since there is a whole
There's a ton of speculation. There's a ton of speculation about why she quit. Some people think she felt slighted when Trump didn't pull her off of Air Force One when Air Force One was under threat by the Iranians. But nobody knows, and it's all a bunch of speculation. And it in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't freaking matter. All it is somebody who shows up in front of the press and, in the case of the Trump White House, is kind of belligerent with the press when they ask questions. And that's just a person that, who just gives responses to reporters' questions.
The job has changed a lot, though. I remember when the press secretary was, and I'm sure Sasha remembers this as well, when the press secretary was very well respected. I had the pleasure of actually being taught when I was at Marquette by a press secretary for LBJ, because George Reedy was actually one of my professors and all along those lines. And of course, that was at a time when the press secretaries were much more respected. Now it seems like Trump's just trying to get some blonde bombshell to be his press secretary. So what is your take, Sasha? Because I do remember the times, and I just used George as an example, but there were others as well that were deeply respected and were given respect by the press corps as well as the president. But what is your take on this notion of maybe not even the press secretary having any importance or not being as important as it used to be back in the day?
A different president, different times. So today is press secretary is nothing than mouthpiece of a Trump. That's all what there is to it. It doesn't require any special skills, intelligence, and so on, just to say what Trumps want to hear and just do it.
I would disagree. It does take special skills. You have to, they're not skills you would necessarily want in a press secretary, but you have to kind of be a little bit charming while lying and being nasty to the reporters that you don't like. And
who was charming in the latest press secretaries? Anybody?
So, I don't find her, I find her annoying, but like Carolyn Levitt is a very cute 28-year-old woman who gets up there and just like is when she is asked a question that makes Trump look bad, then she's able to be really snippy right back. You don't have to like the job she does, but Trump liked the job she did.
Are you surprised that people didn't go after her more than they did in the press? Because she did have, and nothing wrong with that. I don't think I've ever done anybody that young, but I've dated people younger than me, which at least.
So Carolyn Levitt at age 28, her husband is 60, so right. He's 32 years older, and is that fair to think that's creepy? Does that? There's a whole creepy Mar-a-Lago culture, and it's right on the borderline of being pertinent, right? That it feels a little unfair. At the same time, it feels like the whole like weirdness of this White House.
Yeah, because I mean, Trump isn't that much further off. I mean, he's not as big of a gap. I think it's like you said, maybe a 30-year gap between.
Well, Trump is
24
older than Melania's parents.
and Trump
But they've
is
been married long enough that she has become respectably, man, she's in her 50s now. So that doesn't look creepy as much as it did, but and Trump's always done that, tried to date as young as possible. And, it's all, there's so much going on with Trump that, like, sometimes you want to pick what you think is creepy or weird so you can concentrate on the more important stuff. But it's, I don't know.
I just was because it just seems to be a culture that comes out of the White House now. Because I think there are a couple of relationships that are what would be considered May December. Definitely, Trump is one of them. Carolyn Levitt is another. I think there was a few others that were in the White House as well, and everything like that. So it does seem like.
I mean, we had a president who was banging a 22-year-old intern in the Oval Office, and they had gotten a lot of trouble for it, but it didn't affect his popularity. Clinton was more popular after he was impeached for lying about having sex with Monica Lewinsky than he was before he got impeached.
Now, Trump's ballroom apparently is now going to be a military complex because Trump says the White House needs a military complex as the court has blocked his ballroom. So it looks like the ballroom was his dream of beauty and space. Now it's a military complex. So we really need a military complex in the middle of the White House.
You need some security measures which already are in place for the main building. The roof of the White House has a ton of, they don't even disclose all the stuff that's up there, missile and just all sorts of, but do they need this? They need a bunker, so you can, so in the event of impending nuclear war, there has to be a system of tunnels under the White House so they can get in the bunker, and then in the tunnels they can go to some place where they can go to a helicopter and then get flown out of Washington, D.C. We've seen this in a bunch of movies and been flown to some secure underground base when the bombs start falling. Does this frickin' East Wing satisfy like an increased need for security? No, it's bullshit. And the price has gone from $200 million, which was already ridiculous on a cost per square foot basis, to $900 million. It's gone from ridiculous to frickin' outrageous.
Who is financing this $900 million?
Well, Trump said it would be private donors. Now he's not saying that anymore. Now maybe donors handle some of it, but most of it's going to be picked up by the government, which is us.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, most are going to be handled by us. I want to come back to Russia, Ukraine for a second, Sasha, but it looks like a Russian state bank fired economist who warned Moscow was losing the war of attrition with the West. So it looks like this senior Russian banker got fired after a scathing speech on the wartime economy, and he predicted that Russia will lose the war of attrition with Ukraine, and he warned of a social crisis from the war in Ukraine. So is this social crisis already happening, and how many more bankers will wind up losing their jobs in Russia and everything like that? So
the banking system in Russia is under serious threats. There are serious problems. I'm not so sure how long it can survive. The mood in the country is changing very quickly. More and more people are concerned about this ongoing war, and they are talking about, and some people demanding, immediate peace to resolve this problem and get back to the normal life. But they don't understand Russia cannot get back to normal life period. It's no longer a possibility. They'd rather fight this war for the next 10 years rather than come back to normal life. There is no such thing as normal life in Russia anymore. There is no economy to support. There is not enough people. 1.5 million were killed. There is no. It's well beyond point of no return. If it would have been happened, say, 3 years ago, yeah, you could stop the war probably and come back to a normal life. Not today. Today you have to fight until the bitter end and just lose the war, lose everything, or and I don't know what, or there is no answer.
So what Russia is protected, and you can correct me on this, like 500 years of bad government. Russians have had shitty lives for most of the past centuries. World War II, Russia took it worse than any other country in the war. They lost at least 10 million, maybe 20 million people fighting the Germans. And Stalin, just killing his own people because he was paranoid. And things got bad enough in St. Peter, Leningrad, when the people were eating, they ate all the zoo animals. They started kidnapping and eating people. Russia had a little slice of daylight when the Soviet Union fell, and it looked like you might get democracy and capitalism, and then you got oligarchs and corruption, and then the people in charge sold all the industries to their friends, and Russians are used to wretched conditions. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. It's just a situation that you have to go through all this horrible situation when there is an endless war and no peace possibilities.
Like any country, most Russians are nice people. I like buying mosaics, and I had some friends in the mosaic business in Russia that I haven't been able to talk to in years because it would be bad for them and bad for me for us to be, exchanging emails between America and Russia. Great people, they just want to do their art, right? But
Rick, here's the problem. The problem is that you are communicating with somebody in Russia about mosaics, right?
Yeah.
You are sending messages, full-hearted.
Well, I'm not they're not gonna email me. That we're not idiots.
Mm-hmm. So how you communicate anyway?
We don't. I haven't emailed them since the war started. It's because I feel like that would be a really good way to get on some watch list, and for them to get on some watch list.
Right. That's what he's saying and everything like that. By the way, it looks like Trump, and I don't know what Toby has heard about this, but speaking of another war, has confirmed that he's got a back channel to the Iran Revolutionary Guard, and apparently he's also calling for Iran's white flag of surrender. So what's going on with this apparently secret back channel that he's got and all along?
All bullshit.
So
he says now he's going to maybe bomb the heck out of Oman, which controls the southern half of the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is this little pinch point between two countries, Oman to the south and Iran to the north. And now he's going to go after this little teeny frickin' country. He says
this isn't so much a teeny country, it's actually a fairly big country in South America. But Colombia's new president, who I think is a conservative as well, has asked Trump to bring his militarized anti-drug campaign to the country. And HS is saying that the anti-cartel coalition will do bad things to bad people. So it looks like we're going to have a lot of attacks on drug boats and other things out of Colombia. Which
you're going to have attacks on drug boats and also fishing boats because Hegseth doesn't care if he blows up fishermen along with drug people. Also, sometimes the cartels will hire fishermen, I guess, to move some drugs. And they get the death penalty, even though they're freaking fishermen who are the cartel says we'll give you $3,000 for taking, I don't know, 2 kilos of something, cocaine or heroin or whatever from here to here, and then nope, you're going to just get blasted out of the water with no due process.
No due process at all and everything like that.
Also, not our drugs. Like all the people blown up in the Gulf of Mexico were not the Venezuelans. All those people, whether they were fishermen or drug carriers, they were not taking drugs to the U.S. They weren't taking fentanyl to the U.S. They were taking cocaine to the Caribbean. It wasn't our drug war, but Hegseth wanted to blow some shit up, so
we don't know what they were doing. All we know is they were innocent people.
Right, but with no way of getting to the U.S. If you've got a fishing boat, if you've got a fishing boat that carries 50 gallons of fuel, you're not going to be able to go 800 more miles to the Gulf of Mexico. You're going to be going to some Caribbean island that's maybe 150 miles from you.
Yep.
You see, you're trying to find justification for these actions. You don't need to waste your time. They can do it and being unpunished while doing so. That's the only reason they need to do these murders. That's all there is to it.
So we have a nice tradition in the U.S. of just being relieved when we get bad guys out of power, and we tend not to do anything to them once they're gone. Nixon got pardoned. Trump, we prosecuted him a little bit, but to no avail. Nothing that stopped him from becoming president again. And when we get these guys out of office again, will Hegseth go on trial for war crimes? Probably not. Even though he's killed dozens and maybe hundreds of people with no proof that they're guilty of anything. Any proof you might find is at the bottom of the frickin' Gulf of Mexico.
I mean, we arrested Noriega, and he was in a a luxury jail there for a while and everything like that. I'm not even sure what his final fate was and all along those lines, but definitely I don't know that it impacted all that much Nicaragua. Nicaragua is still a country of interest to the U.S. because of some of its doings in the drug trade and other trades as well. So definitely, what did that do? And we arrested the Venezuelan president, and he's been
other countries' presidents. We're okay with arresting other countries' presidents, just not our own.
Right, but I'm saying even when we arrest them, what happens to the country is my point, because I don't know that there's been drastic changes in Nicaragua or drastic changes in Venezuela.
The way you get drastic changes is you invade those countries with hundreds of thousands of troops, and you pay a huge human cost, and you take over the country. We're not doing that. We're doing these little cosmetic things so we can announce that we've taken care of a problem. When it would maybe make more sense to not take out other countries' leadership, and B, we used to have a thing called dollar diplomacy. We would help like if you don't want a shit ton of immigrants coming from South America, you work with them with foreign aid to improve conditions in South America. We quit doing that. So
yep. And Trump apparently has went after I guess she used to be a former supporter, but now he's this just came out recently, went out against the Fox News host Shannon Bream, and was calling her milquetoast and everything like that. So apparently he's got some new insults and all along those lines, because he's apparently calling her an enemy of MAGA. So I guess she's been. So
Fox News, Fox News has, depending on when you turn on Fox News, you'll get less bullshit. If you turn on during prime time, Hannity, Laura Ingraham, there's a 3-hour block at night. Maybe longer with reruns, where you're going to get bullshitted. You're going to get, but the rest of the day, a lot of the time they do news. And they have a show called The Five, which is 4 conservatives and 1 token liberal. But you're going to hear stuff on Fox, depending on when you tune in, that isn't 100% supportive of Trump. And that makes Trump crazy because he thinks that's his personal news channel and everything should support him. And when they run a little bit of news that's critical, he loses his shit.
And apparently that's what he did with Shannon and all along those lines. So it seems like he totally got upset about that. It looks like Representative Nancy Mace is back in the news because apparently she's getting ready to launch a YouTube show after losing her political career. But apparently she's also got heavily tattooed arms after saying she got 9 inkings to experience the pain that she needs to feel. Why she needs to feel pain that she's been in Congress is beyond me. But that's
so Nancy Grace is increasingly interesting as a tragic figure who gets driven increasingly crazy by her position politically. Nancy Grace started off great. She was the first woman to endure brutal hazing, the first woman to graduate from the military college, the Citadel, which women had tried before, but it was so brutal, nobody could. She did it. And then she eventually became a congressperson and was a little loony. She staged an Antifa attack on her house. Somebody spray painted the sidewalk and her garage door. And she claimed to be Antifa. The trouble with that is there's no organization called Antifa. It's a general term. And also the handwriting of the spray paint matched her handwriting. So that was a little loony. And then over the past few years, she's gotten crazier and crazier. She suffered some kind of sexual assault at some point, yet she supports Trump. And the dichotomy of that, like it makes her nuttier and nuttier. She ran for governor and came in 5th or some in the primary or something. She's a lunatic. But she wears her pain on the outside. It's like, remember when Britney Spears got too crazy and too sad to make jokes about her? Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes. Sometimes somebody gets so sad and crazy that it gets too effed up to, and she's in that realm right now. And so now you're saying, I guess she's getting all tatted up to express her pain. And the pain is real, but it doesn't excuse her from, entirely from being an a-hole.
She's also getting really bigoted and racist.
Oh, she's saying bigoted and racist now?
Yeah, and I think she's like anti-LGBTQ and the whole frickin', yeah. So
no, she went and said that if you're the whole Muslim, if you're Muslim in the Congress, you should be removed right now because you're a terrorist. I mean, she's got bigoted and racist.
So she's only got a few more months being in Congress. She and then she's out of will hold no political position, but as you said, I guess she's starting an unhinged podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she's got to start her own podcast on YouTube and everything like that. Yeah, so it gives her a chance to have a greater voice using the YouTube platform.
I don't know how far her voice will reach because she is frickin' loony in a way that isn't aligned with a lot of people.
Definitely not aligned with a lot of folks and everything like that.
We're in MAGA times, and bigoted and racism gets you paid.
Yeah, I mean, she will probably find people to be aligned with. If she's got a social media manager, the manager will try to have her develop alliances with people. But there is a lot of chaos in the MAGA, podcaster world where, Tucker Carlson is fighting with Candace Owens and they're accusing each other. And, It's not stuff that regular people even want to understand all the nuances of.
Well, speaking of understanding and everything like that, apparently AOC is back in the news, and she's in the news because she's making the case of the Democrats for relatability. So she's saying that Democrats as well as her need to be more relatable, and I guess she's using the example of her freezing up her eggs as an example of being relatable and everything like that. So what's your take on this notion of relatability? Because she is one that came out of the working class, having been a bartender and done other things that would make her relatable to the common person, but I don't know that she's relatable enough for the entire nation. So what's your take on her? Because right now she is the front runner.
So yeah, but it's still 28 months until the presidential election, 27 months. Way too soon to be handicapping that race. And way too soon to know if AOC will, she gets tarred with a bunch of, Green New Deal stuff. And, if she's so great, why was she a bartender? And she just broke up with her fiance, and just anything they can use against her. Will that stuff fade away? And will she, in the next 2 years, emerge as somebody that is seen by enough voters as being serious and capable of national leadership?
Yeah. What's your take on that, Joey or Sasha? Anybody? Okay. Well, the other thing I see on the news is that the Attorney General Todd Blanche is saying the Department of Justice can take the state's voters' roll fight to the Supreme Court. So he's actually asking them saying that that's going to be a possibility. Is this whole notion of the state voter rolls, which can be a way to restrict certain groups from voting and everything like that. But
let's talk about voter rolls. Every state maintains lists of voters. In California, for instance, that we've got, I don't know, probably a list of 25, 28 million people. And some of those people are dead. Some of those people aren't qualified to vote. But the deal is that they can't vote. That if you haven't done what you need to do, you can be on a voter roll. And when you show up to vote, they'll tell you, no, you can't vote, or you can only vote provisionally until you prove you are who you are and that you have the right to vote. That's the way it works in every state. There are lists of people who could be qualified to vote if they do what you need to do to prove who you are. Now, but the Republicans with their bullshit say these voter rolls have lists of people, millions of people who aren't qualified to vote on them. Yeah, that's true, and they're not allowed to vote. So they try to confuse the two things, being on a voter roll and being allowed to vote. And they say that millions of people are being allowed to vote. It's bullshit, and it's voter suppression shit because they want the voter rolls so they can knock out millions of qualified voters. They did this in Georgia for years, where the governor was also in charge. He was the guy running for governor, was also the Secretary of State or something, that put him in charge of the voter rolls, and he knocked out millions of people for bullshit reasons and got himself elected governor.
I mean, it's just another version of voter suppression. When you don't have anything to run on, you actually try and steal the vote.
Yeah, and if you're on a voter roll and you're dead, when somebody shows up to vote in your name at a polling place, they're going to look down. You go to the polling place and they've got these big, notebooks full of computer printouts, and they go down into the thing and they either find your name. If they don't find your name, you can't vote. If they do find your name, it says, well, you haven't voted in 8 years, and you need to prove you are who you say you are, and otherwise you can't vote, or we'll let you cast a ballot, but it'll just sit there being uncounted until you go down to the registrar's office with documents proving that you're legit.
like Toby said, it's just another way of suppressing votes, and they're trying to do a number of voter suppression techniques and everything along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Any other things that y'all are seeing in the news?
Well, let's go back, since I used to be an expert on certain kinds of fake ID. I
Right.
worked in bars and I caught thousands of people with fake ID. So I know that kind of ID. And I know that in Los Angeles, there's a place called Alvarado Street where I don't know if you can still go down there, but you can go down there, and if you know who if you know who to talk to, you can get hooked up with somebody who will make fake documents for you for like 500. It was $500 10 years ago. It's probably $1,000 now. And you want those documents so you can work, right? So that it looks like you're entitled to work. You can show an employer a social security card, fake, a driver's license, fake. And some, if you get hooked up with the right person, you can get documents that look pretty good. If you get hooked up with an idiot, then you've wasted your money because your documents don't fool anybody. But it's $1,000 probably now. And if you want to work, yeah, you're going to do that. Are you going to spend $1,000 so you can go to a bar underage? No. Are you going to spend $1,000 so you can cast a ballot? No. So the idea that even in the fake ID industry, nobody's going to spend $1,000 so they can cast a vote as some person who is dead.
Yeah, not at all. So, like I said, going to grind everything down and all along those lines. Another great conversation. I was hoping I was going to have this lady that was going to come on talking about the economy and real estate, but I think she's getting ready to go overseas, so she might not be available until September. So, Janet Tonkin, I believe is her name, might be joining us at a future episode, because she's actually very much interested in what Sasha talks about, which is the affordability crisis and all along those lines, and how a lot of people don't have enough money to be able to afford the basics, whether it's groceries or other things as well. So she will be coming on and giving some tips, and I think she's very much in the real estate space as well as ways to improve our.
Okay, so I got my prices wrong. AI tells me that fake IDs aren't $1,000; they're $120. I don't know if you get a decent ID for $100, but still, nobody's going to go down there and spend $120 so they can cast a ballot. Yeah.
But right now we're getting ready to get out of here. If you want to get to the economic show, it's on the link inside as well.
Okay.